Chapter 86 A Sudden Change. Following his orders, 30 brightly dressed disciples rushed from the sect hall. None of these people uttered even a single word. In front of the hall, they wordlessly used wooden stakes and ropes to create the arena for the death fight. From their swift movements, it was evident that these people were proficient in martial arts, unlike the common low-ranking disciples of the Seven Mysteries sect. Witnessing the sight of the duel being created, Li Feiyu asked Han Li in distraught, "Don't tell me that we're going to hide here the whole time. Are we going to do nothing and idly watch their duel? This isn't right. This isn't right? Your young lover is currently not in danger and is actually quite safe. We'll wait for the duel to finish. Once the Feral Wolf gang evacuates, we'll take advantage of the disorder and stealthily make our way to young Lady Zhang. Since the survivors of the Seven Mysteries sect will most likely want to use you as a scapegoat and place all the blame on you, the two of you have to escape to a faraway place where they can't find you," Han Li said indifferently. It seemed that he didn't have a deep sense of belonging towards the Seven Mysteries sect. "Wouldn't that be eloping? That won't do," Shu'er wouldn't agree to it. Li Feiyu shook his head as if he were beating a drum with it. "Then knock her out and take her away by force. By the time she wakes up, it would be too late to change anything. Isn't that good enough?" Han Li replied nonchalantly. "You." Li Feiyu angrily glared at Han Li, unable to speak another word. While these two individuals were completely engaged in a conversation with each other, sect leader Wang solemnly received 2 blood-red scrolls. These were the death contracts. He took one for himself and ordered someone to bring the other to Jia Tianlong, who was across from him. As Jia Tianlong accepted the document, his expression changed to one of solemnness. He carefully opened the document and cautiously skimmed through it. Once he verified that there was no problem, he nodded his head and closed the document. He then began selecting soldiers to fight in the death match. After filtering through his available men, he selected 13 elite experts from the Feral Wolf gang. In addition, he selected tens of martial artists with acceptable talents from the smaller gangs in order to lessen his own losses. In any case, once they signed their names on the death contract, these martial artists would have to fight with all their might in order to preserve their insignificant lives, regardless of whether or not they were willing. As for the remaining candidates, Jia Tianlong picked some of his capable iron guards. Of course, Monk Golden Light was certain to take the stage. Jia Tianlong was completely counting on the great martial prowess of this immortal cultivator's flying sword technique. While Jia Tianlong was busy, he did not notice that Wang Juchu had returned to the stone hall. Until now, Jia Tianlong still hadn't seen sect leader Wang return, making Jia Tianlong think that Wang Juchu was probably having difficulty deciding the candidates for the deathmatch. When the deathmatch stage had been thoroughly completed, sect leader Wang brought out 300 to 400 people out from the hall. Within this crowd was a mixture of young and old disciples of both genders. However, each and every one of them had a spirited light in their eyes and walked with steady steps. It was evident they were the Seven Mysteries sect's elites. The ones Jia Tianlong was most cautious of were the 3 figures following behind Wang Juchu. The first individual wore a fluttering scholar's jacket, and his face appeared intellectual and scholarly-like. The second was tall and sturdy with his chest bare. His full beard, resembling steel needles, gave him a valiant appearance that was incomparable. Last was a person wearing gray clothes. He carried a long sword on his back and had a cold expression. At first glance, these people seemed to be middle-aged men, 30 to 40 years old. However, close examination revealed that they released an aura that exuded the passage of time, an aura equivalent to that of an elderly man of 70 to 80 years. It made onlookers feel like the ages of these middle-aged men did not match their young external appearances. Jia Tianlong's mind was clear. These 3 were definitely Wang Juchu's 3 martial uncles. It seemed that the Seven Mysteries sect would not hold anything back, even going as far as summoning its reserves. Thinking of this, Jia Tianlong leaned to the side and pointed his finger at those 3 martial uncles for the dwarf mink Golden Light. he asked. "Monk, I don't know how you feel about those three, but can you take them down? They are nothing more than ordinary folk. With a wave of my flying swords, their small lives will be finished. What is there to be worried about? Do you not trust me?" Monk Golden Light said this with a somewhat dismissive tone and gave Jia Tianlong a dissatisfied glare. "I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. I merely asked without thinking. Please do not take it to heart, monk." Jia Tianlong promptly responded with a smiling face, fearing that he might have offended the person on whom he was currently most relying. Humph. After the dwarf heard these words, his anger gradually vanished. Only after seeing this did Jia Tianlong's heart calm down. This great immortal cultivator was truly not easy to please. He bitterly smiled to himself and hastily turned his body before shouting loudly, "Are you not ready? Begin signing the death contract." Following this berating voice, those from the feral wolf gang that were participating the death match started to solemnly write down their names on the death contract. After they signed their names, their fighting spirit burst forth. Not to be outdone, Wang Juchu commanded with a cold voice, "Sign the death contract." Immediately, tens of warriors who had been chosen to participate emerged from the crowd of 7 Mysteries sect members and walked forward to sign the death contract. Han Li's gaze naturally fell on those who marched out as he tried to see if there were any acquaintances among them. He also saw sect leader Wang's 3 martial uncles. However, he didn't take them to mind. He skimmed the crowd with a hurried glance until an elderly man with a blue-green jacket entered his line of sight. With a single look at this old man's appearance, Han Li could not help but exhale in a low voice, "Elder Li." This was the man whose life Han Li had actually saved before, Mao Rong's master, Elder Li. He was unexpectedly a participant of the deathmatch. This was far beyond Han Li's expectations. Han Li retracted his gaze and hastily turned his face. Slapping Li Feiyu's shoulder with all his strength, he said, "Did you see that? Elder Li is there, and wants to sign the death contract." Li Feiyu expressionlessly stood there, motionless, as he surveyed the distance from an elevated view. As if he hadn't heard his friend, Li Feiyu had an extremely stupefied expression. "Hey! What's the matter?" Han Li was somewhat surprised. Even if Elder Li wants to sign the death contract, it's not like he's going to die, right? He strangely asked. Once Li Feiyu heard those words, his vision finally returned. He blankly gazed at Han Li and uttered a sentence that instantly stunned Han Li. Sure, she is also there. She also wants to participate in the death contract battle." Upon uttering these words, Li Feiyu's face instantly became extremely unsightly. One passage of time, literally means the blue sea turned into mulberry fields. Figuratively, it represents the worldly passage of time or how time brings a great change to the world.